Hello guys and welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. Once again I'm Greg and this is the starting 11 show. I'm going to give you a bit of team news ahead of the game and then we'll go through player by player and discuss the team Ancelotti might go with. A little bit to think about with team news. From the press conference, Ancelotti has given us some injury updates. Pickford's still out and annoyingly Alan has not made the fitness test. He's back training with the team but he's just not recovered fully enough for first team football, so he's going to miss this game. I think that'll be a huge loss. And he also discussed James, who of course didn't play against Leeds, and said it wasn't a case of injury, he just wanted to rest him. James had played three on the spin, had taken a bit of a beating I guess at Newcastle, a lot of players sort of stamping and trying to keep him out and stop him influencing that game in the Newcastle midfield. You can't really blame them. But he alluded to something else when he said that as well. He said, I will be rotating for this game. I'll be rotating the squad. And that's probably ahead of quite a congested fixture list we have. Of course, the Man City reschedule has been sat between Fulham and Liverpool, those two games. And with the Spurs game before Fulham, that's now quite a tight 4-game turnaround after this one and some very serious teams to play there where we're going to have to be concentrating constantly. So with that in mind, the thought of who's injured and the thought of having to rotate, let's go into this game and go position by position. On the rotation, I will say I still think it's important to play the best team possible, especially in games like this against Man United. And the old adage comes to mind, doesn't it? Don't change a winning formula. If we went out and won against Leeds, you know, why go out and change things here unless we have to through rotation? So in goal, of course, will be Olsen. Pickford out. I think Olsen had a very good game against Leeds. He made a few great saves. There's that one passage of play, isn't there, where they're all over our box and he makes 3 or 4 great saves in succession. Just looks calm, doesn't make a meal of things, must give confidence to that back line. Gives me confidence. You know, I feel a lot better seeing a long shot come in or a corner or a set piece coming in. I just feel like, you know, he's just going to deal with this in the most simple... I know this is things that you should expect from any goalkeeper, but he's going to deal with it in the most simple and effective way, not make a meal of it. There's no worry that there's going to be some sort of controversy about this. So I'm pretty happy with him staying there. The back line's a tough one. Of course, if we're talking about rotation, there's a few players who can come in. Seamus Coleman didn't play. Michael Keane, surprising for me, didn't play. But, you know, the back line still did a great job. And there's also players who, even if you talk about rotation, have sort of played so well you can't justify taking them out of the team. For me, there's 2 players who you cannot even think about touching. They've made themselves untouchable. The first is Ben Godfrey. I think a lot of the difference in the impetus in the team between the Newcastle game and the Leeds game is summed up by everything that Ben Godfrey does when he's on the pitch, and that's fight, loves a slide tackle, runs constantly. He's an incredible athlete. He's built, but he's fast. He's a hell of a player, and for me, it's impossible to take him out of the team. So for me, at the moment, he's going to stay in at right back. And the other player I think is quite untouchable is Yerry Mina. Honestly, against Leeds, I think the stat is he made more headed clearances in that one game than any Everton player in the past 3 years has done in a performance of a game. So clearly he's got qualities that we need and will be very useful against Manchester United, which is his ability to challenge aerially in our box. Also, he's a monster for set pieces for us going the other way in the other box. So for me, those 2, and they look great, you know, as a sort of combination as well. So for me, they're quite untouchable, Godfrey and Mina. For me, if we're talking about rotation, the one place I can see in this back line is Michael Keane coming back in, and for me, it's Mason Holgate who has to drop. I don't think he's been bad. I don't think he's hit the heights he was hitting last season. I think he came back last season and was one of our best players. Set a precedent for himself that he's struggling to live back up to, but I still think we're seeing signs of, you know, this is a much better Mason Holgate than we had a couple of seasons ago, pre-West Brom loan. So I'm very happy that we're talking about him as a player that's got more potential, and we know it's there. We've seen it. We've had promises of it. So for me, he's unfortunate that he has to drop, but if we're talking about the best players, for me, he's just that par below on current form. Then on the left for me, of course, you've got Luca Dean. fantastic service delivery. The only thing you could do is have Mason Holgate in there and push Dean up the pitch, but I'll get further up the pitch as we go on. Another very tough decision is centre mid. Abdoulaye Doucouré is, of course, there. I don't think anyone can debate that. But who sits next to him? Do we go with Gomez again, who seems to be on the rise constantly of how his form has been? Even Ancelotti said he thought he was the best player against Leeds. He said, this is the Andre Gomez. This is Andre Gomez. This is how he should play. This is the player I know. And that's what all Everton fans are thinking, really, isn't it? This is Andre Gomez, or Leeds. The game against Leeds, that was Andre Gomez pre-injury. It was exciting to see. He was shifting the ball, but does Andre Gomez and Doucouré as a partnership do enough to have a... Is it a good enough midfield to battle against Manchester United? Are they going to get stuck in enough? Are they going to disrupt enough? Or do you want a Tom Davies in there whose defensive stats actually look quite good this season, and the sort of bit part roles he's played? The opposition teams haven't scored much. For me, it's Andre Gomez, just as a don't break a winning formula. Well, it's a very tough one. That's one I want to see you guys weigh in on in the comments. But Andre Gomez and Doucouré had a very tough challenge against Leeds, because Leeds, they were constant pressure, happy to attack, and they seemed to weather that storm well enough, especially with that well-drilled back line. So for me, I'm going to stick with those two, and in front of them is James. If we're rotating, the suggestion from Ancelotti is that he'll come back in. That bit of quality, of course. Harsh on Gylfi Sigurdsson maybe to be dropped. I think it's tough. He's hot and cold. He's very hot and cold. But we're seeing him hit good heights again when he's hot, but when he's cold, he's so one way or the other, isn't he? Gylfi Sigurdsson, he either is completely absent for a game, or he keeps, or he has the odd game where he's popping up and contributing well, and goal against Leeds, case in point. But the Newcastle game before that, very, very weak. So for me, James over Sigurdsson. Another one we could comment, maybe you guys think James goes out wide and Sigurdsson comes inside, stays inside. But for me, on the right is Iwobi, because with that midfield, we just need some mobility. And Iwobi and Godfrey is a lot of running on one side of the pitch, isn't it? Be interesting to see if that works as a dynamic. Calvert-Lewin, of course, up top. Great to see him get a goal again. Hopefully that's the start of a lot. A lot of people were saying again last game that he was struggling to score anything that wasn't sort of coming in to him. If the ball's at his feet, he's in trouble. But a header or a tap in is nice. Good to see him just get the confidence. I think it's all about confidence. He's been told to play a role which is just stay between the sticks. So when he's sort of running into the box, it's just a bit different again. I'm not even discussing this. It's not like there's much else that can happen. Josh King, hadn't even thought of him, because on the left I'm going to go with Richarlison. I know he's in a real drought, but he's got the qualities. It's got to end at some point, and hopefully we can get over it. And the only way to do that is to keep playing him, surely. Unless you drop him for Josh King. Would you guys like to see Josh King get a start? That's another thing for the comments. But that for now is my team. Olsen in goal, a back line of Godfrey, Mina, Keane and Luca Dean, Doucouré and Gomez as a midfield partnership with James in front, and then a front line of Iwobi, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. What do you guys think? Tom Davies, Josh King, Seamus Coleman, are those players getting in your team? How would you line up? Let's hope for a good win here. Kickstart the sort of tough games we've got coming, and I'll see you guys next week.